Um, and then when Rich Russo joins in whenever he can, we'll start the regular meeting. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for your time. We have Tom Smith here from EFPR, who completed our 2020 audited financial statements. If you're looking at the updated packet that was sent by Mark, it starts on page 11. We want to thank Tom in these trying times to conduct the audit remotely. It's been a pleasure to work with them. I'm very happy with how they present our financial statements. I think it's very readable and easy for people to understand where the organization is. So I'll have him go through it, and if there's any questions, let me know. Tom?
Hey, hi everyone. Just in case you hear a lot of clinking on my end, I apologize. I live in an old apartment building. I just turned off the radiators, but they're going a little nuts over in Buffalo today, so I apologize ahead of time. So I'd like to jump right into the financial statements. I'll just start right at the very beginning. You flip past the table of contents. This is our independent auditor's report, and I'm pleased to say that we are giving a clean opinion. Everything looks correct. All the disclosures are proper, and there is back up to the entire financial statement. So I'd like to jump right into the financial statement. So on page 3 is your statement of financial position. So essentially your balance sheet. And really, there really isn't a lot here. Really, it's just cash, receivables, and some deferred revenue. So really, the big changes year over year is cash balances did increase, but you also have an increase in deferred revenue, which is your grants you received ahead. Sorry, that you received ahead of paying for them. So I will get into that a little bit more detail when we get into the footnotes, where we actually break down the individual grants and what makes up those balances. The following page, page 4, is your statement of activities, traditionally known as an income statement, where we break down your revenues and your expenses. You will see that you did have a very large decrease in revenue, but you had a corresponding large decrease in expense as well. That really comes from your grants decrease, but you'll see you also had a correlating demolition decrease as well. But the important number to really focus on is that third from the bottom number, changes in net assets without donor restrictions. That's really the increase from prior year. So you actually had a positive increase in your equity of $326,000. Page 5 is really just a summary of everything that happened in the previous pages. Is your statement of cash flows, why your cash balances changed year over year. At the beginning of the year, you had 401,000, but you ended at just under 1.4 million, and that mainly was driven by your increase in revenue over expenses. That first number, 326,000. So after that is the notes of the financial statements. The first few pages are the same language year over year, your accounting policies. It's really the more boring information is the first few pages. But really what I wanted to start is on page 8, where we disclose the grants and go into a little more detail on really the operations of the land of the corporation itself. So on page 8, we start the grant footnote, but really the important piece is on page 9, where we put this into a readable chart, really all the activities that happened during the year. So we have a comparable chart of 2020 as well as 2019. So that way you can see what happened year over year, what activity happened in the same grants. And you start on the left side is your beginning balances from the beginning of the year, as well as what funds you received from the grants, the revenue you recognized from that, and at year end, these balances are what was on your balance sheet. So you had $254,000 of deferred revenue on the balance sheet. That's because you received more grant funding than revenue during the year. So that's because as you expend those in 2021, those will become revenue. But the important thing is you've already received that cash, so there's nothing you have to worry about collecting down the road. from the reverse side of it, you have $113,000 of receivables at year end. So that is money you will receive in 2021 for grants that you have performed already. The following page, we do another comparative chart from 2020 and 2019. This way you can see where your grants are at the end of the year. So you can see, for example, Neighbors for Neighbors, you've spent the entire grants, but the grant before that, the community grant, you still have $710,000 of revenue you can earn on that. So that you see exactly where those grants are, that they're not fully used up. So it's a summary of your main funding sources. Then the following page 12 and 13. In prior years, we issued a separate letter, one-page report on your internal controls to say that we evaluate your controls and let you know that there's no weaknesses that you need to be aware of, nothing significant. This year is going to be incorporated into a two-page report, part of the normal financial statements. That's because we are using government auditing standards this year, and that's something that was required in the request for proposals. So that's really the only difference between this year and last year's financial statements. That's condensed down to all into one financial statement report. So that is your financial statement. So I really want to turn it over to you to see if you have any questions, anything I can answer.
All right. Pretty easy to read. And no, if there aren't any comments or questions, I think we can have the committee, which would be Bob Martin and Kristen, make a recommendation to send this on to the board, and we'll take it right up onto the board agenda. Does that sound okay to you guys?
Does to me. I'll move that we accept the report.
I'll second.
Bob DiCaprio is not with us tonight. All right. Well, Tom, you can go and appreciate your team's work, especially working remotely to gather documents. And we look forward to working with you over the next 2 years.
Absolutely. Same on this side. Thank you for having me. And I just want to throw in there, not related to the actual statement, just to the audit. I want to thank Dave and his entire team, because we did have to do the audit remotely one more year. I understand it can take more time internally, but I just want to thank everyone on your end for making that possible. And really hoping we're actually there in person next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So did Rich join us yet? Russo?
There's an RR there.
He is just joining us.
Wonderful.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Rich.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, David. Thanks for the resend, Dave.
Yep, sorry if you didn't receive the first one. Our audit
That's
team,
okay.
EFPR, just finished with the audit committee, fully reviewing it. The audit committee made the recommendation to the board, and so we are now ready to move on with the regular agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great timing. Again, thanks, everyone. Appreciate everyone's participation. So good to see everyone. Welcome back. It's been, I don't know, wait a minute, call to order. Let me call to order the March 16th, 2021 Capital Region Land Bank Board meeting. And now let me say, welcome, everyone. It's great to see you. I'm so happy that we can be back together, and I appreciate everyone's continued participation. We've got a fairly deep agenda to cover today, and some items that we want to make sure that we're giving some great thought to, and then taking some actions that we can continue to do the great work that we've started out doing. And I appreciate, like I said, everyone's attendance today. So with that said, we had minutes go out with our board packet on Friday. Can I get a motion to move those minutes?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those nay.
Aye.
All right, approval of the minutes. Thank you so much. Our treasurer's report, Joe, always good to see you.
See if I can get the right screen up. You've got the treasurer's report in front of you. There, as you can see, we are spending money. Not as much as we would appreciate being able to spend, but that's because of the virus. But most of the money that's been expended has been coming out of our admin account. Amsterdam has not had any expenses for quite some time. As you can see, I think that's going to change in the future from some of the resolutions that we have. But we have plenty of money. So unless anybody has any questions, I will move the financial report.
Can I get a second? Great, thank you, Mr. Paterni. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, the treasurer's report is moved. I will be brief because I know David's got a lot on the executive director side. Again, just want to say I appreciate everyone's continued participation. We've got folks that are being moved from a reappointment by their appointing bodies. I being one of them, I was put on the agenda last night in front of the Schenectady City Council, and I was moved out of committee. They'll have to vote on me formally on Monday, but I anticipate that we'll continue to have support. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to be chair of the land bank, and by the good grace, I'll have the support of City Council and be asked to stay on starting next Monday. We've had quite a bit of activity, actually, despite pandemic, in the background between our community outreach and engagement with partners like Habitat, like Cocoa House, like BNI. We are continuing to make a difference in our neighborhoods. We're continuing to drive hard our mission. It's one of the things that we want to kind of review tonight, which is our annual report and all those audits and our mission and vision. But the team has not stopped. The executive director and our project coordinator, both in Schenectady and in Amsterdam, the work is continuing. We've got lots of activity in Amsterdam. I met with Senator Hinchey not too long ago on the activities that are going on in Amsterdam, and she was buoyed by the redevelopment and the revitalization of Amsterdam. And so I think that we're in a really good position to continue successfully in our communities, in our home communities, and throughout the region as we move into what I'm hoping for normalization across the 2021 calendar year, and then recapitalization going into 22, 23. And David and I and the team will work hard to make sure that we've got the capacity to continue doing what we're doing because we're making a difference. I know you guys know that. I wanted to reinforce what we're doing. And I appreciate, for the third time, the board's commitment to the mission, the vision, and our host communities. So with that said, I will turn over to David because, again, like I said, we do have a good amount of work to get in front of here tonight or get through tonight. So David, thank you.
Thanks, Rich. So we have been busy. Demolition has continued since I think we last met in December. All of the Amsterdam properties were completed, and Nick Zabowski has been doing consistent reporting and inspections for us. Bronze has moved on to here in Schenectady. They're doing the 2 properties on Barrett Street. We are receiving CDBG funding to help support that effort. At that point, all of our demolition activity for the enterprise grant will have been completed. We just did a review of where we were with grant proceeds, and we should be right in line of where we should be on our demolition budget. And then we'll just have the habitat projects and renovation that we're doing, 760 Eastern, some of the new construction to go. So really happy we've moved all that along in what was a tough year. The one thing with I want to bring to the board's attention, we are going to have one change order for a little over $3,000 on the demolition contract. One of the properties, a neighbor had decided that he was going to construct a bridge to the property and remove all the construction debris from his home and put it into the property we're demolishing. We did report that onto the Amsterdam police, and they have interviewed the individual. They're moving forward with the appropriate actions. We may, in fact, be able to recoup some of the money that we're spending on the change order, but we did take the appropriate actions there to discourage any of this behavior moving forward. We want to make you aware. Also, besides our agenda items tonight, we have been working with our partner land banks on some advocacy at the federal level, something that, with all the state resources that came through the bank settlements, we have never really done in the past. But the New York State Land Bank Association is making sure that our senators and Congress representatives are aware of all the success of land banks across New York State, talking about the importance of land banks with what could be, pending foreclosure and eviction crisis, and really positioning land banks in the conversation of infrastructure, what the role that we could play in continuing the good work. So that advocacy has been done, and it continues to be done. And here in Schenectady, just other things that we've done is we recently had a meeting with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, with Metroplex and the Land Bank, to discuss an approach that other land banks have taken across the state to enter into memorandums of understanding with the DEC to investigate and potentially be able to take title or help our foreclosing governmental unit take title to properties that have had environmental contamination and or cleanup efforts, with the idea that that the land bank and the foreclosing governmental unit will be indemnified from any claim on and then any environmental conditions that exist. So that's something that has been successfully done in Suffolk County, out in Western New York, Niagara Orleans Land Bank, Onondaga County. And there are a few properties here that we'd like to potentially consider helping with. Nothing for board action yet, but what has happened in other places, as the foreclosing governmental unit has chosen not to proceed with the foreclosures, the owners have gotten smart and said, well, then I don't need to pay my taxes. In other cases, they've in partnership with the land bank, they've either been able to take ownership of the properties and move it to a productive use, or to continue to do investigations that are going to be helpful, or the owners are now understand that the taxing jurisdiction is foreclosing governmental jurisdiction is serious, and they end up paying their back taxes. So just good conversations that we're having. I will, being that Rich brought it up, and I think that these are some good pictures for the board to see, I'm just going to pop up the 4 slides that Rich showed City Council yesterday, because I do want to be able to bring your attention to, are you seeing the screen? Can everyone see that? Is that working?
Yeah.
So that's that was an event over at the Cary Street Habitat project we're working on. Rich, I can do this real quick, but just an overview of all of our progress working together. This was specifically for the city of Schenectady, but these are the pictures I do really want to bring to your attention. The St. Mary's before pictures, and we were able to walk get a tour of some of the progress recently, and it is just quite beautiful how they've transformed that space, historically preserved it, and we've all been on a long road to get to this point on this project. So, did wanted to show you those pictures. This is our demolition that was happening on Friday here in Schenectady. But I just thought that was fun for any of you that remember seeing either walking in the school or saw the pictures that the Gazette had put up about condition. It really is coming along well, and they have a TCO on the school, and they hope to be moving in residents in April on the school, and then the new construction across the street is about a month behind, but a very similar schedule. Really nice units, quality units that will continue to help the Eastern Avenue neighborhood, the businesses that are there, and make it more livable.
Looks great.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing project. It really is. It's I remember walking it. If anyone ever was in there prior in the before pictures, I mean, it was it was a pigeon coop. It was a big pigeon coop, and it was a dangerous pigeon coop. So what they've done there is amazing.
So that's all I had. If there's no other questions, we can move on to the agenda.
Rich, I want to make certain, you talked about your reappointment. There are 3 other, I think, that's all in progress.
Yeah, they're all in progress. We have 2 from county, Mr. Paterni and Ms. Rooney, that I come up now. I think they expired 3/29, and they'll be in flight for the next county meeting. And Bob Martin, I think you're 2024, I think, right? I know there's, we actually have it in our board packet tonight on what they are.
I can go through that with you, Rich, too. Maybe I missed that in the annual report. I just want to make sure that accurately represents what I have on my spreadsheet as well. I might have missed that in the annual report.
Do we want to just go over it right now, or do we want to move to the election of officers first?
Well, I've got a couple more questions.
Go right ahead.
Since that's the appropriate time. Status on Mr. DiCaprio? I ask it every month.
I know you do. Mr. Martin, do you have any update? I called.
I do.
I spoke with Bob, and he's doing well. He said, he planned on joining us again. I was hoping we might see him today, but he's doing very well, and he's in remission, and everything looks good.
I talked to him in February, and he gave the same indication. I didn't talk to him just before this meeting, though. So.
And the last item, since we don't normally get public viewing, and I should have asked it earlier, is the audio link available to the public, so that audio and video, so that if they wanted to attend this meeting, that they would be able to do that?
Yeah, this is being broadcast. First of all, it's being recorded, and it's also being broadcast on our YouTube Live platform. And after the broadcast, the video stays live and active for anyone to review at any time. If you ever have anyone who's asking where to access it, they can go to the Schenectady Metroplex YouTube channel, or they can just contact me and I'll send them the link.
Thank you.
Thanks for the questions, Joe. Any other questions from anyone before we get started with, we have 8 items for consideration and board action tonight. And if there's no other questions, then, so I've got the board packet in front of me, David, and I think the first item is our annual meeting and election of officers, committee membership appointments. Is that correct? That's resolution 2021-01?
That's correct.
Okay, so pretty self-explanatory here. We held our annual meeting today. We're holding it. We have nominations of our officers, and you can see that we're carrying forward all of our current positions. And We have our audit committee is made up of Mr. DiCaprio, Mr. Martin, Ms. Diot. Our finance and budget is Ms. Rooney, Mr. Berlant, Mr. Paterni, and governance is myself, Richard Russo, Mr. Martin, and Mr. Paterni. Are there any questions on this resolution or moving the election of officers and committee membership appointments as stipulated in the resolution? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
Thank you. I think I had a first and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
nay? The motion is moved. Thank you very much. Welcome to 2021. Okay. The second resolution that we need to move tonight is Resolution 2021-02. That's our adopting the 2020 audit. I recognize that the audit committee met just prior. And can we get a motion to move what the audit committee reviewed prior to this meeting?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed,
Aye.
nay? And the resolution is moved. Thank you very much. Pardon me.
I would like to add that thank you for again having, to all those involved, having a great, clean audit report. You know, it's great to be a part of a group that, you know, every year it's the same. It's always clean, and I'm proud of all of you who are involved in this report.
I will second what Mr. Martin said. It's great that we navigate this process every year with what appears to be an opinion that is in favor of all of our activities, all of our procedures, and all of our processes. So thank you to the leadership team as well as all the members of our board. Okay, so let's see. The third item, sorry, I'm trying to get to it, right? So the third item is our 2020 annual report and mission statement. That's resolution 2021-03. David, I'm going to turn it back to you briefly for some additional explanation and support. I see some edits in here, and I'd like you to just call those out if you don't mind.
Yeah, so the annual report looks like it starts on page 30.
Yep.
So it's the similar form, exact same form we've had in the past. You know, over $8.5 million of grant funding we brought to our local communities. We had total revenue this year of just over $1.3 million, which you just saw from our audit. And you know, we're working to close out our community revitalization initiative grant, which was originally anticipated to be completed at the end of 2020, with the award of the additional $530,000 that was extended to June. But we've had conversations already, and it's anticipated because of COVID, they'll extend it through the rest of the year to allow some of our renovation projects to get done. So, you know, we continue to, you know, provided some overview of our activity with renovation and new construction, our partnership with Habitat for Humanity, 760 Eastern, the Cary Street properties, continued work with Better Community Neighborhoods to assist in the Mount Pleasant community, to help move forward the Main Street grant program, and just do some community development, community organizing with the merchants there. You'll see one item that we're looking to help work with that's on the later agenda. We'll continue that work. You know, as it pertains to our vision and mission, you know, not much has changed. Goes over some of our performance metrics. Clearly, as you know, we've evolved our work. It's met not acquiring as many properties, working with our foreclosing governmental units to access the properties. Again, just limiting the amount of dollars we spend on fees and moving properties back and forth, and instead focusing those on removing blight and then acquiring the properties that are going to be critical to our activity. 17 demolitions in 2020, with 6 that were originally scheduled for 2020 that got bumped over to 2021 as that most recent demolition contract ran long. If you go to page 33 in your PDF, page 5 of the report, the list of the properties that we still own. 131 Guy Park obviously is one of the ones that's been out there for a long time. That's coming off. Others are just properties that, you know, for the most part, vacant lots, with the exception of 760 Eastern, which is will be going to a homeowner. You know, talked to Habitat today. We're shooting for May for that, and then 110 Prospect, right next to the Better Community Neighborhoods new construction project that they're doing. That's has been delayed as they've reorganized. So we were happy to control that property. We've been in it within the past 2 or 3 weeks and continue to explore best ways to best serve the neighborhood there, working with our partners. So, you know, we've whittled down what we've owned, which I think is a good thing. And, you know, we're now kind of moving into the idea until more demolition funds are available, or other large community redevelopment funds to work with our partners, use kind of the war chest that we built to help projects that we think are important to the community. So, page 5.
David, that chart does not have taxes owed for Guy Park, and that we're talking about doing that. So should that be changed?
Oh, you're right. That is the one that we can get that. So if you read over the resolutions for Guy Park, this is one of the properties. The city of Amsterdam took a different interpretation than our partners in Schenectady until the law was clarified at the state level. And what happened is, because we ended up taking that property when there was still improvements on it, and demolishing it all within the same year that they had done their tax foreclosure, we had ended up having taxes owed on it, which we had asked the city of Amsterdam, being that the original reason we took it was to do a renovation that didn't work out, to re-foreclose on it so we can, you know, come up with a better process without having so much debt on the property. But yes, we'll make that change as suggested, and then we will remove it from the list immediately for 2021 after we close.
Good catch, Joe. Thank you.
Yep. That was our budget on the next page, 34, budget as approved in 2020. You'll see the board members, and yes, I did go through our list. That looks to be accurate. So Kristen will have to be reappointed by the mayor. Then Bob Martin and Rich, we can work through, you know, the different foreclosing governmental units. Hope to have you continue your service. Rich, you said you already have started moving that forward?
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't know. I thought Kathy Rooney was also in 21, and she's Kathy, you're in 22. And I've already started all with the others.
Org chart is on the next page.
Okay.
Mark's been a great
so
member of the team.
that is.
And I just finished the last item. I can send these here as a Word document, the board performance and evaluations. We'll send that out, and hope you can fill it out, return it to me, or return it to Rich, whichever you so choose. And we'll aggregate them and have them completed for our submission to the state through our parish review. Sorry, Rich, I'm done if you're ready.
It came through a little convoluted, but everyone, obviously the board performance is important. So please fill those out and get that back to staff as soon as you can. And then you've got our additional policies and procedures that we will get to in a minute. Sorry, I moved ahead. I moved ahead on us.
We need to move
Yeah.
that resolution. I'll move it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just trying to see. I didn't see where actually so I just didn't have the cover page. All right, very good. So if we can move the annual report in our mission statement, resolution 2021-03. Joe, I think you said that you would move it. I need a second, please.
Move it as amended.
Move it as amended. Very good. Yes, thank you. Could I get a second on the amended annual report?
Second.
Discussed? Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Resolution is moved. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next resolution for board review and action is our policy compliance and our ABO requirements. There are a number of policies that are here for our review. They include our fiscal policy, our procurement policy, a whistleblower protection policy, our indemnification policy, investments, and real property acquisition and disposition. David, do you want to go through any of the highlighted changes?
Sure. The only policy that we are suggesting changes with this year is a procurement policy. Again, to better reflect the work that we're doing, understanding the different kinds of projects we work on, when it makes sense to go out and do a full-blown RFP versus, working to attract contractors interested in our properties and projects. And, I think that as we move down, we're clearly doing a lot more work in partnership with our foreclosing governmental units. So what that means also is there's a chance to rely on some of their procurement methods and approaches to best suit, our mission, their mission, and what they like to see move forward. So with the procurement policy, I'll just go right to that to just do kind of the overview here. And I wanted to share with you the marked up version. I know that sometimes can be confusing, but what I did here is I worked with our attorneys, Whiteman, Osterman, Hanna, wanted to make sure that we had our policies up to date with both laws that apply to us, which is the not-for-profits corporation law and then the public authorities law. They suggested some minor changes here and there. For example, I had previously had language that we were subject to both the minority and women-owned business goals and the veterans goals, and it turns out we are not, just the minority women-owned business law. So they suggested some minor language changes there. The real things that I would like to go through is I isolated construction contracts from the purchase of supplies, materials, equipment, and professional services, with the idea that I wanted to provide some more room for us to accept quotes for construction contracts, whether it's a single demolition, abatement, parts of a renovation project. I wanted to provide some more flexibility to accept quotes between $5,000 and $50,000 based on plans or other, in the case that we're going to be using for 1109, 1011 Strong Street. It was for the asbestos abatement, and knowing that we have multiple firms that have previously expressed interest in our work, and it's a much smoother way for me to get I think the best pricing and still make sure we're putting it out for people to see. So I'm suggesting that change for the construction contracts. And then I just added the language about relying, and this language is from the state finance law, about relying on other governmental entity procurement. This was brought to my attention by Whiteman, Osterman, Hanna, and something I think that makes a lot of sense for us, being that we're administered by Metroplex. We're working so closely with our governmental partners. Joe and I spoke earlier. He identified just a few changes. Another thing that was changed is Whiteman, Osterman, Hanna also broke out sole source versus single source. It's not showing up in the draft changes now, but they broke those off and defined it as per the guidance from the state. You'll see it would be on page 46, so page 5 of the procurement policy, B, single source. There was reference to the best interest of the state that Joe saw, and I changed that to the interest of the land bank. But again, just methods that we've used in the past for sole source, single source. We've used that for the splash pad and Tribute Park to Success. So it's an important policy. And are there any questions?
So a lot of edits there. Go ahead. Sorry, is there a question? A lot of edits there. I think they're done thoughtfully and tactfully. It gives us some additional flexibility, all with the guidance of council on what to do to make sure that we are meeting and exceeding the letter of the law, as well as identifying, where we're relying on other entities and or promoting accordingly. All right. So that was the bulk of our changes. Everything else carries forward. Whistleblower, defense, investment policy, no edits to any of those. You can see that we have a number of depositories that we do business with, that we have signing rights with, David and I. If when necessary, we'll both go to the bank. And then we have our disposition committee and all the provisions associated there. So what I'd like to do is move that we authorize the policies. I will read for the record pursuant to the provisions of the Public Authorities Accountability Act of 2005 and the Public Authorities Reform Act of 2009. Land Reutilization Corporation of the Capital Region, i.e. the Land Bank, is required to annually review, consider, and adopt the following policies: fiscal investment, procurement, investment, whistleblower protection, defense and indemnification, real property disposition with respect to the Land Bank's purchases of goods and services for its own use and account. And whereas the policies have been presented to this meeting, a copy of which is hereby ordered filed with the records of the Land Bank. So if I could get someone to move the resolution and second it.
First, remove the double investment in the whereas clause. You've got fiscal investment, procurement, investment again.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So as amended with the whereas, and I think we had one other edit that we called out earlier. Can I get a motion to move as amended?
So move.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Certification is unanimous. The resolution carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate that support. I appreciate the hard work that staff put in to make sure that we are fine tuning where necessary so that we can achieve the mission and vision of the Land Bank. Okay. So now some property actions, always exciting. 131, 133 Guy Park Avenue in the city of Amsterdam. We've got an opportunity, it looks like, to move these properties. I know we've tried before. David, could you summarize?
Sure. Yep. So it's a vacant lot. We did the demolition. I believe it was 2016. A lot of backstory. We already went over about the taxes accruing. We'd received a purchase offer from the Office of the Aging in the past, which is directly, if you're looking at the property, directly to the left of the property. Two properties that you see here are to the right. Their offer of $3,000 obviously put us in quite a bit of hole with the taxes that were owed. This was years ago that they had made that offer, and the city of Amsterdam has not moved forward with another foreclosure since then. So Mr. Garrett Plowman, who has a strong record in Schenectady of working on and owning some of the Stockade properties, historic properties, renovating them. He is looking to make an investment on the two properties that you see pictured in the memo, directly adjacent to 131, 133 Guy Park, and has offered $13,000 as a purchase price to acquire the vacant lot. I think that this is in our best interest, obviously, being that there's still taxes owed in this. It won't require the city to foreclose, which they have not been able to do. And then it's also in our foreclosing governmental unit's best interest, because all of the proceeds that we get will be returned to them in back taxes owed at closing. The purchase price will cover primarily everything that is owed, but when we do get the final statement with interest as of the date of closing, we might either owe a few bucks or make a few bucks on the sale. But I think it's in I think selling this to a private entity, putting it in tax rolls best fits our mission. They're aware it is a big lot, and they're aware that you have a social club across the street and the Office of the Aging directly adjacent. And we express our desire to see them make their best effort to assist in, providing hopefully an opportunity for parking or whatever else is needed for that entity. But I'd like to see us move this and no longer own it. Any questions?
The only thing that I notice in the resolution is that it doesn't condition this on his acquiring the other properties. What happens if he acquires this alone and does not acquire the other two?
I mean,
Sorry,
I think that's a good question. I was thinking the same thing, that I had spoken to the city in regard to this, and that was one of the conditions that I had proposed, was that, if he does own these two properties, then I think this is a good idea. But if he doesn't own those, if he doesn't go through with the purchase of the two properties, then he has a solo piece of property there that does have some value, and so that is a concern of mine. So do we know where he is in the process of purchasing the other two properties?
yeah, I talked to, I believe, Bob Patel, is that the name of the real estate agent? Used to be involved with the land bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke with him. He's looking to close on both properties by the end of the month. He's turning them into multifamily residential. I'm perfectly fine with putting in another resolve that it's the sales contingent on the purchase of, I would probably say, at least one of the properties, because honestly, from my point of view, if he decides to own this vacant lot, and the fact that he buys it from us, we're off the hook, and $13,000 goes back to the city of Amsterdam, I still see it as a win. But if we want to make it contingent, I'd probably say on one of the properties would make sense, because he's committed to the area, he's doing work there, but he's expressed that he's planning on closing by the end of the month.
Mr. Martin, would that be an acceptable contingency or middle ground for you?
Yeah, I think we could go with that, as long as he's that it would be contingent upon him owning at least one of those properties. Then that's a middle ground.
David, can you change the resolution unless there's other comment from the board? I think I'm sensitive to Amsterdam a representation, and I think that we should follow that recommendation.
Sounds great to me. I put a note in and I'll add that as a resolved.
Okay,
Moved as amended.
And I'll second.
and second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
The resolution is moved unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate the edits. And thank you, David. Moving on to our next piece of property for consideration, Resolution 2021-06. This is with respect to 1011 Strong Street in the city of Schenectady, residential property, as well as 1009 Strong Street, which is a vacant residential property. David, could you summarize?
Sure. Yeah, this is an exciting project, and I think it's in tune with some of the comments and thoughts we had in 2020 about how do we continue to engage those who are living in the community, those who would like to work in the community and be part of the progress that's being seen. So the city, with Kristen's leadership, but also Mr. Ron Gardner as the affirmative action officer, have really continued to push and invest in workforce training opportunities, specifically getting the local workforce and local contractors engaged in bidding work in our community. Through their 5-year CDBG plan, they made a note that this is a priority, and they wanted to identify a property that would be a good opportunity to move forward some of this out of the classroom workforce construction training. So the city approached us on this property, a little different because we're usually asking the city for properties, but they saw the land bank as the appropriate vehicle to help oversee the workforce training program. A little different from like SEAT, which is more focused on working with kids. These are working on with adults, people who apply through the program, get some of their OSHA certifications, and trying to connect them with local contractors. So 1009 Strong was demolished by the city within the past year or two, I believe. 1011 Strong, you'll see on the before, with that's what it currently looks like. The picture to the left is now a vacant lot. It's I guess you'd call it kind of a 1.5 story house. The first story is your normal size, but if you try to get up the staircase into the second story, people, not even just my height, but other people's heights, have a very, very hard time maneuvering around it. And the headroom is small and it's not an overly livable space. The city procured construction documents, which include raising the roof, raising it to the point where the second story becomes much more usable, putting in a bathroom up there, and really redoing the whole house, electric, plumbing, and making it a modern single-family house, with the idea that they wanted to reach out and seek services. They defined it as professional services from local contractors who would hire their trainees and have a certain number of hours paid to trainees and provide them on-the-job experience. So the city put that out for requests for quotes. They received 3 quotes based on the stamped drawings. BKJ Construction, who we're familiar with, New York State certified minority business in Schenectady. They completed the work for us at 839 Eastern. Great to work with, hardworking, moved along. They expressed an interest in participating in the program and agreed to the training component of it, and brought that to us. We did, in our due diligence, we asked to see the city's asbestos survey, identified that was not, it was done by PSI, local Schenectady company, identified that scope of work had not been included in the bid to a general contractor, which makes sense because general contractors tend to sub that work out. Being that we're going to own the property, and we've had great relationships with quite a few different asbestos abaters. We reached out and requested quotes based on the asbestos design. We received 3 quotes. Sullivan Contracting, who has worked as a sub on multiple projects we did, they were the low quote at $20,100 to remove all the asbestos from the property. Great Environmental originally gave us, who's from Schenectady, originally gave us a number that was lower, but then they looked at the plan and decided that was not their number. So with this resolution, it's a lot in here. So the resolution approves us to acquire the properties, which would be the vacant lot and 1011 Strong Street, the improvement, the house. They will be merged by the land bank. The city will do this at no cost as of the next taxable status date. The city, because this will be a roughly $193,000 project, the city has agreed to a $100,000 forgivable loan. Just another method. It's a forgivable loan in the sense that if we complete the improvements as we say we will and sell the property, they will forgive the loan as long as we can show that we spent more than the $100,000. Between the cost of the renovations by BKJ Construction, the abatement, air monitoring that will have to go on during the abatement, we're estimating some, and just contingency for, the unexpected, we're estimating somewhere around $193,000 project. Based on what a fully renovated single family home side lot would sell for up there, we think that we're being pretty conservative, that we could recoup our investment. And I would even say if we don't completely recoup our investment, it's a great project for us to work on. And return a property to the tax rolls, 2 properties to tax rolls, get it to a homeowner, and really be good shape. I do really think we'll be able to sell it for that amount, though. There's the Sony May renovation mortgage that's out there, so people can get a $20,000 down payment. So then you're really looking at, rather than purchasing for, let's say they 90, they're purchasing it really for 70 if they agree to stay there for a while. So good project. And, we're relying on some of our changes to the procurement policy here, again, that I went over with Whiteman, Oscar, and Hannah. The one being the relying on a different governmental entity. I went through this with the city of Schenectady a few times. The affirmative action officer worked with the city's purchasing officer to identify that they're treating this as professional services because of the training component that they've expressed as a priority. So both our Whiteman and I feel that while it's not our typical approach, we are comfortable because of the training component. And then the abatement, obviously it's a greater chunk than we normally would do for quotes, but with those changes, I think this is what really inspired me to want to make those changes, is that we built these relationships. We know folks who would want to come and bid our projects, good competitive prices, and that's, I think, proven here that that's what we can get. One change that to the memo that I made after talking to Joe Berlant is we went through the procurement policy, and he identified that as part of the relying on governmental entities, that there should be an additional line in the explanation, which is an analysis, that there was no other procurement method that would better serve the land bank. And again, I think based on the explanation of what we're trying to do of supporting the city's goals and the land bank's goals to continue to try to promote getting people who live and work in the community chances to enter this workforce or be part of our projects, that this is, in my opinion, the preferred procurement approach to rely on another governmental entity.
Thank you, David. I appreciate all the supporting language and documentation and the backstop with our council. I think one of the things that, stands out for me is that this project, not only is it restorative to, an at-risk community, but the fact that we're engaging the training program, it's where I believe, if I'm recalling previous meetings amongst this board, that we want to move our mission and vision, right? We've done restoration, we've done revitalization, we've done demolition in our neighborhoods in an effort to build back better and or reduce the capacity, the overcapacity that's bringing down property values in our community as a whole. And I think what we said was that as we continue to move forward, what's the logical evolution? And it's how do we create strengthening of the community and a revitalization of the fabric of the community? And that's the people that live in those same neighborhoods. And so if we can help support a project that trains individuals, that engages them in a high-paying field, assuming that they're successful in their certification and training on-ramp, then I think that not only are we achieving our mission and vision, but we're exceeding the goals that we set forth for this body and for the actions that we're taking in our communities. So very much in support of moving this resolution. I hope that the board is as well, and we would entertain any questions or a motion to move.
The only concern that I have on this is the big discrepancy on the asbestos removal. Suddenly going from 18,000 to 45,000, where the other bid is 30 and then the low bid is 20. Is there any real explanation as to what suddenly went on with that? Did the company decide that they didn't have the capacity and were just giving us a figure because we needed 3 bids?
No, Greater Environmental was the first number that we received. They are a New York State MBE in Schenectady. They've had a few different iterations of the company. What really came down to is that, after I saw the $18,000 number, I called them and said what was going on. And he said the number was good. And I said, okay, and it's going to take you 3 weeks. He said, yes. And then he went back and he decided that because it was 3 weeks that it was 45,000. When I talked to Sullivan Contracting, and Ron's is doing our project here, I didn't actually inquire too much as to their number, but Ron's and Sullivan, Sullivan moves very fast, and they anticipate it's going to be a week of work. There could be a additional few bucks as a change order, being that they tend to get water from and electric from neighbors. So that sometimes is, we agree to pay you $100 to let us use your a plug. But all of them had the same issue of needing water and electric. But what it really came down to is the number of man hours. We're seeing this now with Bronze Contracting compared to Gorick contracting we had earlier. Some folks just move faster, and so they bid. When they're not paying the guys as much, it just is a lower number. So. Sullivan has always done a tremendous job with our projects, and I was happy to get that quote.
Yeah, I understand the fact that the deciding factor is that we have experience with that, because usually when you have such a big discrepancy in the bid, there's real potential problems for later on, and that was the reason I was raising the question.
Yeah, no, I understand. The nice thing about asbestos quotes is that, we all saw the survey, so they based on what was there in the survey. Now, when we get into change orders with this, it's usually because they've uncovered something under a wall or something like that, and we really can't. There's nothing we can do about that. If they remove 2 layers of tile and then it's a whole nother layer of asbestos tile. But the PSI was very thorough with their testing, and I feel again with Sullivan, I've never experienced them having a change order unless there was an unforeseen additional disposal that needed to be done.
Thank you for the question, Joe. Other questions? All right, seeing none, if I could get a motion to move this project, I would appreciate it.
So moved.
So I heard two people. I think it was moved by Mr. Paterni and seconded by Mr. Martin. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion is moved and the project will carry forward. Thank you, David, for working, and Kristen, thank you for working with the city, working to move this project. And I know it's an important one to move forward on, so thank you.
Absolutely.
The next item up, again, important strategic relationships. This is how we continue to drive success throughout our communities. And in this particular case, it's with the Schenectady Foundation, who's done tremendous amount of work throughout our community over the years. This is Resolution 2021-07. This is an authorization to enter into an MOU with the Schenectady Foundation. David, could you summarize?
Well, we're not very creative, and we got a transformational project in Eastern Avenue after we built a splash pad. So I'm saying, hey, let's just do it again, you know? So Wallingford, I'm just joking there. Wallingford Parks in Mount Pleasant, the Thriving Neighborhoods Challenge has just been a tremendous effort by Kristen, the city, and the Schenectady Foundation to give residents and business owners an opportunity to have their voices heard as to the improvements that they want to see in their community. We put in the first splash pad. This is the third that has been either installed or proposed. It's obviously something that people see as a tremendous asset for community in the summer. The city, now that they're getting a hang of it, they're getting a hang of the maintenance and stuff. They see the value of this over pools and everything else. The Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association put in the proposal to Schenectady Foundation in the city for $100,000 of funding towards the splash pad. They were approved. The Schenectady Foundation reached out to us and said we really, we need some help overseeing the construction and working with Aquatics, the same company that we work with, Parkitects and Aquatics, which is part of the national cooperative list that you can piggyback on for putting in these kind of structures. I just see it as, because we're still so focused in Mount Pleasant, it would be a great opportunity for us to lend some support, get numbers, come up with a plan, help with some of the community development, really do that in a time when, our partners in city government are, stretched and, for example, the city engineering department, I believe, has one engineer right now. So, as long as the board is in favor, we'd love to enter into a memorandum of understanding to really kind of just work on behalf of the foundation to administer the project. There might be some administration funding in it for us, but really it's putting most of the money back into building a splash pad this summer. That memorandum of understanding will be signed by the city as well, just allowing us access into their park, their property, and that they approve of us doing this project.
Another great initiative within our community. I love these splash pads. I'm sure that the rest of the board agrees. And, it's a great way to move to some way to engage our community, some way to have a safe place for children to go. Doesn't require the chlorine and the lifeguarding and some of those extra capacity items from a neighborhood park pool. You guys know where I all stand on aquatics and the bigger picture of aquatics. But when it comes to neighborhoods, I think that splash pads are a great way to create additional connection and connective tissue within a neighborhood. So I hope that we have the support of the board, and I look for a motion to move this.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those nay. The resolution
Yeah,
is
Dave.
passed.
David, I hope that we don't have a third one come up. I mean, your preference for aquatic activities is noted here.
You don't get Rich Russo started. He'll start
Don't
talking
get me
about
started,
and
Joe.
everything
Want
else.
to talk about a pool? I'll talk about it. No, I'm just it's easy.
I did Pat Smith. I talked to her the other day. She's the head of the neighborhood association. She told me that she will be the first one in her bathing suit in there, and so it won't be any of us. So don't worry.
But I'm certain you'll be following soon after.
Oh, sure.
Great project. Okay, another great project, and one in Amsterdam. I think it's a great opportunity to continue the momentum that's been built in Amsterdam, both by the land bank, by leadership administration, and now by some tremendous representation at the state and state level from both Assembly and Senate, and the congressional level at the U.S. at the federal level. I really believe in my heart of hearts that we on this land bank board have created a tremendous amount of critical mass in Amsterdam, which has led to some success on the larger funding side. This is a project that continues. Talking about numbers now where we're driving these larger scale projects in which momentum and capital infusion and capital projects follow each other once you start to get to this level. So I'm looking forward to continued success in Amsterdam. So we have resolution 2021-08 for consideration. David, could you summarize?
Sure. So we've gone over this project before. It's a tremendous project. The Amsterdam Advisory Committee, understanding the just extensive amount of abatement and demolition that has to occur to move forward, had made the recommendation back in 2020 to, or maybe it's 2020, to look at the discretionary funding that Amsterdam has built up and invest $50,000 into assisting with some of the demolition abatement costs, similar to what we've done here in Schenectady with the community builders with their phase 2 $44 million project, and then obviously at Renaissance Square. And so this is it's a neighborhood that I think we should all feel very proud of, that we've made an investment there that attracted DePaul to this. And I think what I heard from Amsterdam and DePaul is that it was in the past when applications for this type of housing happened in this neighborhood or in other areas, that it was hard to show that there was kind of a coordinated activity around it, and they didn't want to just drop these things with so much blight around. I mean, obviously, with a lot of the areas that we serve, there's still more work to be done, but we could point to now, after these past demolition round, 11 buildings have been removed, significant investment in blight removal. And so, I think that really helped play a role in the state providing substantial tax credits to get the $21 million project completed. So 62 units, really nice units. You'll see the rendering on the second page. Again, our funding would go into assisting with demolition abatement and would be payable upon completion and CO of the building.
Love this project. Street walls that look like the existing that turn into the proposed are again what create momentum in a community, and additional investment follows when these projects are successful. And at least that's my experience. I think that's most of our experiences on this board and in our public service. So I'm really looking forward to, again, I've already said it, but continued success in Amsterdam. And this is a step in the right direction. Can I get a motion to move?
So move.
So we'll take Mr. Martin as the initial motion, as the representative of Amsterdam, and Joe as the second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is moved unanimously, and we look forward to this project continuing the momentum in Amsterdam. Okay, so a lot covered tonight. A lot of work is still to be done. I'm looking forward to in-person meetings coming at a future date, not quite yet. But I can tell you that I think when everyone is comfortable and they've got their single round or double round of vaccination, I look forward to being together. Zoom is an effective meeting tool, but I do like the opportunity to be together and the camaraderie and the engagement that presents itself. So maybe sometime in early summer, we can aim to do that, but I'm sensitive to your preferences, and I look forward to our next meeting. I think we'll have one in April, right, David? We've got some other things that are going on. But,
Yeah,
April or latest May.
Yeah, we'll keep, you know, we're, you know, as I think we mentioned, we're looking to work with the Cocoa House. They have a vacant building right next to their property. So we're working to develop a scope of work for them, how we can best help. But we'll keep, I'll keep it as, you know, plan on the, third Tuesday of the month. And then I'll let you know in advance if we need to have the meeting, or if not, won't take your time. So appreciate everybody.
Any old business to cover? Any new business to cover? With that said, I will adjourn us for the evening. Feel free to call me if we need to put something, prep something for our next meeting and next agenda. And thank you again, everyone. Great to have us back on the same call together. Look forward to seeing you all in person. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Joe.